Hello everyone, it's Ian, and I just wanted to stop by before this reposted episode to let you know that we are in the process of working on a handful of new episodes that are going to be really awesome just before Stoney goes and has his surgery. But in the meantime, while we're kind of preparing for that and, getting ready for all that entails, please bear with us as we kind of go through this time, and it's going to be interesting to say the least, and also kind of scary as well. So just please have all of us in your thoughts and prayers through all that going on. But like I said, we'll be working on some new episodes, and those are going to be coming out in the next few weeks. But until that happens, please enjoy this previous episode from our backlog, one that I personally enjoyed being on because I got to really share a lot about myself. So if you already have listened to it, give it another listen. If not, and you missed it, go ahead and tune into this one. But again, thank you so much for your listenership. We really appreciate it. Stoney and I just recently passed a milestone that we will probably talk about the next few weeks. And we're super excited about it, and very grateful as well. So again, thank you, and on with the episode. Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where three guys come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And today we got a very special guest.
Very special.
He looks very special.
It was
very special.
It was at least 2 weeks in the making, right?
More than that, dude. I'm horrible.
Well, he stood us up twice.
I said I couldn't
it's
make
okay.
it.
It's okay.
It's all right.
We were pulling your leg because it was obviously I was in contact with, and this is our guest, by the way, Sam.
Yeah,
for everyone
Sam,
who doesn't
yep.
know, I was in contact with him. He's a good friend of mine, and I was like, he wants to be on the show. He listens. He's a really cool guy to talk to. I like talking with him. Let's have him on the podcast. And then, just like with Once Upon a Time with Stoney, X-Man, and myself, life gets in the way sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And things
I got to see X-Man last night, too.
Really?
Yes.
How's he doing?
He's good.
I'm glad.
He's good. He was at the graduation with his son. Our sons go into the same class.
Right.
Oh, really?
So that was kind of cool to see him again.
That's awesome.
So
I'm glad he's doing
when
good.
Magnus, not to interrupt you, but
No, you're good. Yeah.
When Magnus, they kept telling everybody, don't clap, wait till the whole class is done, and then clap for each class, and they did each class.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it took them 3 or 4 times, everybody kind of finally settled down. And then I guess Magnus was like the 8th class in.
I know where this is going.
And I nudged Miranda, and as soon as he got on the stage, I went, "Thank you, Jesus!" Everybody could hear me and started rolling, laughing, and he sunk his head. And
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man, it was
Wouldn't
awesome.
be
But
a-
that's what dads are supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a stepdad.
Embarrass you a
Even
little
better.
bit.
Even better.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah. So, anyways, it's just been one of those. It's that time of the year where I feel like everyone's wrapping up for summer break and everything's
Yes.
going. And especially in our neck of the woods, it's hot already.
it is.
Oh,
it's
it's
really
humid.
hot. We're doing 92.
We're
93
trying real hard to get there. Is what it feels like.
Those air conditioners are working
Oh,
really
no.
hard. This is a good time to be in the AC business.
Oh, heavens yes. Heavens yes.
Exactly. But okay, so this week I have a pretty good question. I've been holding on to this one for a while, really
Okay.
ruminating on this one. What did you want to be when you grew up? And how have you become that in your adult life, or have you not?
Wow. I wanted to be a ballerina.
Oh, is that right?
No, not at all.
An exotic dancer.
Not at all. What did you want to be, Sam?
Believe it or not, I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Really?
Do you even know what? I don't even know if anybody knows what that is.
Is that like a not archaeologist? I think I'm thinking of an archaeologist. Where
It's
like
basically like I was ahead of my time. I wanted to be Jurassic Park.
I
right?
see,
Like
I see.
fossils and
Right.
dinosaurs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's
Okay.
what I wanted to be.
How'd that work out for you?
I talk about an old dude,
yeah.
and an old, tradition. So yeah, I mean, it kind of.
Did you ever try to pursue it, or was it just what you wanted to do? And
It was one of those weird things. Like I think about because I'm a Gen Xer, and I think about growing up compared to what people grow up now, and maybe I don't know if you've experienced the same thing, and I'm interested with Ian, but like no one really talked about that too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like
really,
it's like it was like a throwaway question.
Ah, I see.
It's
like, what's your favorite color?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a little more than that, but it was
Right.
just kind of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And like, I want to be a ballerina, or like,
Yeah.
I want to be a paleontologist. Oh, great. And it's
Right.
like, get a job. It's like, it wasn't
yeah.
anything like that was like, okay, well, you got to go to this school and that school and you got to,
Right.
apply for this. It was nothing like that. And, I didn't even come from a family that, like I'm the first person to ever go to college in my family. So, it just wasn't a thing, but yeah, I really wanted to be that, and I did a lot of. I always was around rocks, and I studied a lot of that stuff. And then when you told me that we were doing this,
Mm-hmm.
I thought about it, and I was like, why did I not do that?
Yeah, right.
There was never a point where I was just like, well, I can't do this now,
Right.
I
had a real awakening moment for mine. If I can transition over,
Sure.
Whenever I was a kid, I wanted to be a police officer.
Really?
Yeah, I just thought like the cop car with the lights and the badge with the whole uniform
It's
and
not
everything.
too late, right?
I know it's not too late.
It's not too late.
Yeah, but I just like I thought because there was like my mom always had some sort of crime show on. I think I was also like Batman was my favorite superhero.
You might have to get rid of
growing
the
up.
hair bun though.
Probably so. Oh, you say bun like I have it in a bun right now. Don't call me out like that.
I'm glad you said it.
So for me, like I also loved Batman, and I feel like he was also like a
Dude, you're just too sweet of a guy. I can't imagine.
Right. So for me, like I would play the good cop. I feel like if I could, maybe not.
Yeah.
But no. So I just thought like I loved the whole. The idea of it all of like being almost like a real life superhero kind of is what it felt like. But then as I kind of
they're out there, they're protecting us. They kind of like the military. They've written a blank check for everybody in America to lay down their life.
right. And then I grew up and then realized what all it was involved in. And then I was more of an artistic kid, I think, at that point. So I was like, I want to do more artistic things in that regard. And I wanted to be into music and stuff as I was growing up. And so I think I kind of a lot of my passions adjusted in that way, but I still don't think I don't think I've written it off. I mean, I just still think it's cool. I mean, would I ever like? And it's also like my father and now my brother following in his footsteps were paramedics.
Oh,
so like my dad always had a very similar uniform, drove around in a big old truck with lights and sirens on it, and was in my mind, he went off to go save people's lives, and I was like, that's so cool.
Now, did your brother follow his footsteps or kind of went on his own and just wound up there? Did he go, I want to be just like you, Dad?
No, I don't think like that. But I think he has taken the opportunity and has. I don't want to speak for him, but I definitely was like he went out and went to go experience life on his own. Kind of grew up a little bit, had some experiences of his own, and was like, I want to go help people across the world by like healing them. He wants to be, I think, part of Doctors Without Borders.
Oh, wow,
and then of course,
amazing.
So he came back with that kind of like, I want to be that. My dad's like, well, I know people that can like get you in like on the ground floor of like helping people right here, right now, for very cheap. And he was like, well, sure, I'll give it a shot. And was like top of his class. Was very, very great. And obviously has done that kind of stuff.
that is not an easy gig.
No, definitely not.
I grew up at a fire station. My first 11 years of my life. My dad wasn't a paramedic, but he was an EMT.
Yeah,
and it's like that's a rough life, man. That is a rough life.
Yeah. Well,
so shift work.
He is. Yeah. So he is a full-fledged paramedic now, and he's like he calls the shots now, and he wants to go like to med school and stuff. So he's
awesome.
Wait a minute, I thought you almost like had to go like quasi med school for paramedic. I mean, it's pretty aggressive.
It's more like quasi nurse stuff. Where you don't have all the freedoms I think as a nurse does, but you have more qualifications than a nurse does.
Really?
Yeah. So like whenever you're in a hospital, if like shit hits the fan, like you technically can call more shots than a nurse can.
Interesting.
Or you can do more practices that they can't.
Interesting.
So you're like
Where
this
you're
kind
trained to be out in the field.
Yeah.
When you're in a hospital, and even as kind of chaotic as it looks, it's somewhat controlled. But when you're out in the field, you got to learn how to drive.
Right.
You got to learn how to protect yourself.
Well, and then
you got to learn how to protect the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bit more, out there that's uncontrolled.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's also a big thing. The reason of that is, at least from what I know of the working knowledge of it, is that given any circumstance out there, you need to stabilize them to get them here.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you can get us to a doctor that can like fix the situation. A nurse can help out with that kind of stuff. But like certain intubation stuff, certain medications that like need to like really be like in dangerous circumstances. So it's like, anyways, but that whole situation, like he's doing all that now.
That's
and so I
cool.
get to hear the stories from my dad and my brother. And it's a really interesting. Like, I feel like I know so much about the medical field just by osmosis because of all that.
It is amazing to me
Right.
that people can do that. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, I just never could.
Yeah.
That data never sunk in my head. I don't know.
See, I went the other way.
Oh, yeah?
I used to hurt people.
And not your-
I used to send them to the hospital. No, I'm just picking. That really didn't happen.
So what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oddly enough, I wanted to be an astronaut. See,
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I grew up. I'm a boomer. I grew up with Man on the Moon and watching the space race, and I just thought being an astronaut would be so cool, and I really wanted to do that. I still have a little denim jacket from when I was like 10 or 11 that my mom painted the moon and the stars and a little
how
rocket
cool.
on it for me. I still have that.
What a cool mom.
Magnus fits in it.
No way.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to do that more than anything.
Dude, you can still do that, man.
Oh.
Elon's taking tickets.
Well, yes, and if I had $55 million, I would.
So
Right.
you're like probably a couple million short.
I was going to follow that dream. I was going to follow it, and I went to join the Air Force, and you need to be an Air Force pilot, and I found out that you couldn't be a pilot and be colorblind.
Oh.
And so they shot my dream down.
Oh, man.
I was crushed. My little heart was broken.
Speaking of like Air Force stuff,
Yes.
like an adult dream of mine that I've had that I've talked to you about is like I have considered getting my pilot's license.
You should do that.
I really would like to.
Whoa.
You should
Yeah.
do that.
It's just because it's just that I'm never really impulsive like that, and I've always loved and I have not always loved planes like as a kid does, like as like real true pilots have been piloting for like 30, 40 years. Like I was a kid, like building my own model planes. I was never that kid. But in my adult life, after taking air travel a whole bunch
Right.
and just really enjoying it, and then like getting into the whole community of like learning about like being a pilot and the whole structure of it all, the lingo, the checklists, all of it. I just think it all sounds so cool to me.
You should do that.
And I would.
That's
it's a
tangible.
little-
That's something
Oh,
you could
yeah.
actually do.
right. And I learned that my I don't think I have astigmatism. I just have poor vision. I think I have like 22, 23 or something. And I think my vision's in that realm of being okay. As long as I have two pairs of glasses, I can be a commercial pilot if I needed to.
Oh.
So it's like if I wanted to, I can like seriously make some money doing
And you
it.
can get surgery.
Dude.
Right.
Real talk.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things. You're not hearing a lot about it on the news, but that's one of the big problems with air travel is like there's an insane shortage
Yes.
of pilots.
So you and I just took a trip to Virginia.
Yep.
We went to like a little conference together, and the listeners know about this because I had talked about it and how it was just so awesome to be around all these people that just were. I felt like were wiser than I was, and I just sucked up so much information. But I was in one of the airports on our transit over there, and I got and I as I normally do. There was this pilot there just eating his meal by himself, just kind of minding his own business, and he had the whole, Delta.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had the whole suit, the tie, the little the epaulets, or whatever it's called, little or shoulder guards or whatever it is, and he had his hat on the table. And I was just sitting there.
You didn't ask him like, can I wear it?
No. But I definitely asked him.
Can I try that on, please?
I asked him. As you would in a situation like this, talking to a stranger, I like looked over and was like, "So how many of those hats do they give you?"
That's a good question.
Right? And he was like, "Well, actually, you have to pay for them." And I was like, "Really?"
yeah.
And he was like, that started the conversation. How I was like, I would love to. I've really considered at my local airport trying to take some classes to get my license. And he was like, if you want to be a commercial pilot, he's like, trust me, dude, now's
Now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to get on the ground
it
floor.
is.
And I was like,
The
really?
number I heard was 60,000.
Ooh,
That's
whoa.
the number I heard. That's the shortage that's coming. I don't know if that's right now,
Wow.
but that's the number that was getting thrown around.
Right, and so that was what he was saying it's just like in other aspects of the world, a lot of guys are retiring.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of guys are coming back into the fold.
I had a
and
friend
stuff.
of mine. He lived in Washington State, and later in his life, he became a pilot.
Really?
And he wound up with more hours in a Gulfstream than probably anybody in America.
Dang.
And he lost both of his lungs to cancer.
Oh,
He got a double lung transplant.
really?
And you never hear somebody that has a double lung transplant that's doing good.
Oh no.
And he recovered. He was doing great. And he traveled down to San Diego to see his daughter and caught COVID and never left the hospital.
Oh man.
And passed away. And his wife just hated to call me because we had been friends for 15, 20 years.
Damn,
Oh,
that
wow.
sucks.
And he would send me videos he would put a GoPro behind him.
Oh,
And you
dude.
could see his takeoffs and landing and
I
the
love it.
rain and the snow and just the tropical areas that he was flying
What kind
through.
of plane did he fly?
Gulfstream.
Gulfstream.
Dude,
Yeah.
I just like I said in my adult life, I like the more I've like watched YouTube videos and I've gone down those like K-hole of video
Oh,
watching
yeah,
where I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, how did I get here kind of moments, and I'll get to those moments like that, and I'm like, it's expensive. It's kind of a steep curve, I think, right now for me. But I was like, it's so cool though.
But how expensive is it? I mean, because there's a lot of different licenses you can work up to, right?
Yeah. To get where I need to go, it's probably just shy of $3,000. Not impossible, but
No,
definitely
still not pocket change either.
Yeah, yeah. At least not for the balling on a budget like I am. So it's like, but yeah, and I that's not 100% out the cards though, because I still think I could do that.
But I wonder if it's like with paramedic stuff, like the local company around here, the big one, they'll pay. Well, if you get in, they'll pay. You get your EMT license, and
Right,
they'll pay for you to
right,
get your
right,
paramedic
right.
license.
Yeah, I think there are ways that I can look at some like loan forgiveness stuff for that kind of. I think, or I think another one that I had heard about is that if I do good and I get plugged in with like a commercial liner, they'll help out with like paying that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Where it's like obviously if you're doing good work,
And there's companies out there. My buddy Rob, he worked for a private individual.
Yeah.
Paid for any education that he needed.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
See, that's the thing
any
that's like
education that he needed.
there's a lot of people like that, because I even know another guy. He was at another place I know, but that's what he does. He just flies around this rich family. That's all
they
he
have
does.
2 credit cards,
Yeah.
one for hotels and one for food. And they
Wow.
never paid for anything while they were traveling.
Yep.
That is so cool.
Dude.
And the thing is,
And they didn't stay in the Motel 6s.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
had to stay in, that was a requirement of the company that he worked for. You had to stay in a certain type of hotel and up.
Right.
And then you had to eat at nice restaurants and made sure you get 3 squares a day, 3 good meals a day. And they don't go cheap on us.
Oh, right. Don't skip out on us. And like for me, like I know Mallory and I want to travel more, and I'm trying to just find more opportunities in my life where I can.
I think if you had a pilot's license, you could go rent your Cessna and go somewhere anywhere you wanted.
Yeah. Anyways, so like I said, that's just one aspect of it.
I don't know. Out of all 3 of us here, you have the only one that's remotely doable.
I mean, I don't know. And so like that's an idea. Another.
Well, hold on now. Hear me out.
Right.
If I had $55 million, I could call
That is
Elon
true.
Musk up and
Right,
go
and
into
you could be an
space.
astronaut.
I could be an astronaut. See, who's got
Yeah.
$55 million I can
Right.
borrow.
So, like I said, you're the only one that's remotely.
But like, and
I'm gonna win the lottery and
another-
set both of you up.
Nice, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing in between those 2 dreams, kind of though, was this, like I said, this creative moment in my life where like I fell in love with acting and I fell in love with music and all that kind of stuff, and I really followed in some of that I really followed in sequence with a lot of that stuff. Where like I met a lot of actors, I took a lot of classes, I did a lot of improv stuff. I loved photography and videography stuff, and I love music. So I like did. There was a hot minute in my life where I just did freelance on like a lot of that stuff.
Oh wow!
And so I just got out of high school, worked some like odds and ends jobs, like corporate type jobs, where I worked at a surplus store or whatever, and then in between all that was making money at other things that I thought was like a dream of mine. Some of that ended up falling through and was not that great. Some of it was great. And then the funny thing is now, like if we're talking about like a dream that has become a reality, I work as basically a full-time filmmaker now is kind of the way I look at it in some way. So it's
and podcaster,
right. And so it's just a different branch on this weird tree. I feel like that it just kind of is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but not without stumbling through what I wanted to do though before I got here.
I guess I got kind of lucky when they crushed my dream of being an astronaut. Some doors opened up in another avenue for me.
Right.
The Ronald Reagan, thing who we had just finished talking about in the precast.
The precast.
For $5 a month.
Right.
It kind of opened up some other doors. I fell into I guess you could say, right people. They really weren't good people, but they were the right people at the time. And I was able to start another career that I could enjoy. And that was being private sector protective services. And I did that for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed that. So I can't say I really suffered, but anytime you have a dream crushed, it affects you a certain way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted to be an astronaut. I grew up in that age of the space war between America and Russia, and who was going to get there first.
Mm-hmm.
And but I had a good life. I enjoy what I did.
You still got life too. You still got.
Yeah, I got a couple years maybe.
You got a few more bad decisions in you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have learned one thing.
What's that?
I don't rely on myself. I learn from other people's mistakes because I don't have enough life in me to make them all and learn from myself. So I watch people a lot, and try to learn from their mistakes.
Stand back and go. That's how not to do it.
That's not it.
Yeah, that's something I tell a lot of the younger folks I deal with is like. I feel like we've lost this wisdom a lot, like especially with this particular generation, and
lost the gray hair.
Yeah, right. Well, it's just like I don't know, because we've had such free access to information now,
and not always good information.
Yes,
or correct or truthful or whatever.
But there's a difference. That's what I've said all the time. There's a difference between information and wisdom, and there's not enough of the wisdom getting connected around, and so. I've been trying to connect people, like even with older folks, like, hey, young people want to talk to you. They need to talk to you first of all. And
what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom?
I mean, I think
knowledge,
it's experience.
Knowledge is knowing the tomato is a fruit, and wisdom's not putting it in the fruit salad. Now go ahead with yours.
You stole it from me.
Okay,
stole it from me.
I see. That's funny though.
It's true. I mean, it's knowledge. It's
I'm a dumbass.
Right.
School of hard knocks life.
And that is, there are other moments in my life where I feel like I've had like really strong mentors that have also helped. Like,
well, thank you.
Well, I mean, you're joking, but like you and X-Man have been like prime examples of that, at least in this transitional point for me right now in the past handful of years. But even before that, like music mentors that I've had that I even talked about on this show pretty extensively, about people that have like encouraged me, and just I've had a pretty encouraging family, but like also having somebody that is so knowledgeable in a craft or a field or something that is able like to look at you and like see the potential and like really pull it out of you. I've had that as well in multiple aspects of how I've grown into this kind of person, I feel like. But like I said, I've also made some real dumb decisions though, and just
so you'd want to fly.
Right. I feel
Sam,
like
what would you, if you could just right now just do one thing, what would it be?
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm doing what I want to do.
That's awesome.
Be on a podcast?
Yep, that's that.
Right.
Well, no, because I was thinking like, besides the paleontologist thing, I mean, ultimately the big thing that was constant was I always liked writing.
Okay.
And and like I remember when I was I loved there was, and I didn't figure it out until later on in life, how those all fit together, but I really loved the paleontology kind of thing, just because the past and like all these crazy creatures and they're in rocks and how that happened. But then I always was very imaginative and loved writing, and like I mean, I even in kindergarten, I think they put one of my little stories in the library and stuff like that. But my you definitely don't remember this, but you might. Before we had computers and everything, do you remember there? Well, you know this now. There was a company called Brother, and they had a word processor.
Oh,
That it was like, dude, you remember back in the day when the screen was like maybe a couple inches, and it was two colors. It was like green and black or yellow and black. Yep. And what was cool about
only
this
had 3 or 4 lines on it,
Yep.
and you had to kind of scroll up to see the lines.
Well, and that's what the thing was. It had a floppy drive, and I swear to you, man, the thing was like I can't even. It's hard to describe, since we're not visual.
you're motioning what looks like a suitcase almost.
Yeah, it was big.
It was.
Because
It was.
it had the printer in it. It had everything.
Right.
And I would just sit and write stories all
It was
day long.
it was like a large typewriter on steroids.
Yes.
I see.
Yes. Because, I mean, it legit weighed like 30, 40 pounds.
Right.
Legit.
You know it's bad. Like whenever he's talking about it and he's waving his hands like in like a side by side motion, like it's about yay big. And
It's
like,
big.
That's pretty big.
It was big. But I used to
Right.
love writing stuff like that. And but then
It had a head. Remember the old typewriters?
Oh, yeah.
Had the little arms. It had a ball head,
Yep.
Really?
and the ball head would change as you were, but you would see what you were doing on this little LED, the old LED
Right,
screen. And it was awesome.
See, back in the day when you typed and you messed up, I mean, it was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, damn it,
right. I had the pleasure of like I think it was back in middle school or something. Got given like a fully functioning typewriter like for like this like class that we were doing, like a typing class sort of thing or whatever. And I just remember doing that, and like I was decent at typing, and would just mess up and was like, this can't be the end, right? Like and like there's no backspace.
Yeah, no
You
backspace.
just messed up, and I was like, oh man, this is not good for me. I was like just really, what is it, plucking at the keys, just like really making sure I was doing the right thing, because I can't. That must be infuriating.
Yeah.
To have it
And
just-
then the advent of the computer comes out,
right.
and now we're supposed to save the trees because instead of printing something, we're going to give somebody a disc.
Yep.
But instead of giving somebody a disc, now we've just created a faster and more efficient way to kill trees, because now the reports we generate are 1,000 pages long.
I see.
So
Yes.
that's a problem.
Yes.
That didn't work out like that was supposed to.
That
I
is
mean,
true.
there's still people that I work with that insist on printing things out on paper, and I'm like, you can just the PDF that you just printed, you can just send it to me over email, and it works the same way.
I do that all the time.
Right,
It's just like somebody goes like, "I'll print this out for you." It's like, don't bother.
Please,
Okay.
it's literally it's more like of a fumble. I can just have it right here and just scroll through it. It's fine.
Yeah. It's like, there's neat things. I have an iPad with a pencil.
Right.
You
And,
can jot on
well,
it.
X-Man, it was kind of the forward thinker in that regard. He always would he had an iPad that he would always love to have his notes on. That he would always, and I would always kind of get his notes prepared for him and would have him just like pulled up.
Oh.
And so, it was part of the gig. It's like anytime we were filming stuff, his notes were always, he wanted it like on like a little iPad, because he would type them up, send them to me through email, and when I would just like get his iPad ready.
Oh, okay.
And so it was just, and he could have them, and we could go through.
What is his life like?
Oh,
It's like, that's crazy. That's luxury.
Anyways, he was.
I'm gonna pick on him when I see him. It's like,
So anyway, so that was the thing, is like we had that, but again, it was so interesting to start filming with other people, and they would have like full paper copies of things, and I'm like, why is there all this paper? And a lot of times it wouldn't be stapled, so I'm like, what are we doing here? I was like, this is such a mess. But anyways, not to pick on anybody in particular.
No, of course not.
But it just to so that's
So, Sam, how do you like podcasting?
I mean, I love
Just
it.
fun?
Oh yeah. Well, I've done it. I had a podcast.
Oh,
Well,
I
I
didn't
still
know that.
technically do. But see, that's what no one tells you. It's like, because like podcasting is like, I have this great idea, I'm going to do this, and you do it, and you're like, oh, I gotta, oh, and I'm going to do video too, It's like, and so now you got to edit it, and you got to do this and that, and oh, this was bad, oh, the sound's off sync, and this and that. And before you know it, this great idea turns into like a 40-hour job, and you just don't have any time, and so I think I had long form, so it was about, well, not long form, it was about an hour, and I divided them up into two different episodes.
I see.
But the problem is just like getting down to the editing and all that stuff. So I'm actually resurrecting it come this fall, because we have a whole new strategy about how I'm going to do it. And it's not going to be video; it's going to be just audio. But
Nice.
I mean, I love it, because That's what I think. It's so weird how just sitting around and listening to people talk.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why that's so fascinating.
Same.
But it is.
And that's one thing that Mallory, my girlfriend, I don't think fully understands that. I don't think she understands. I don't think she gets like podcasts. She listens to music and stuff, but I don't think I've really like scratched that itch for her. That is like a good podcast that she likes to listen to. Because for me, I have a handful of them. Like
She doesn't like our podcast.
I know that she doesn't like it. It's just that anyways. I'm
gonna have to ask her about that. You got me choked up. Hey, Mal, you don't like your own boyfriend's podcast?
But so I'll put some headphones in and I'll like go run some errands. Like go to the grocery store and I'll walk around and I like listen to a podcast doing that. There's nothing more than like really getting a good clean on the kitchen and like having a podcast going, just like cleaning the whole kitchen. And I just love having that space.
I don't think I sit and think about like my TV and my Apple TV, and it's like I came in the house the other day and I was like, I don't think I've turned this thing on in like a month. Because
Really?
like I'm usually like something's on just a podcast, or I might listen to an audiobook, but most of the time it's a podcast.
Right.
Is what
And
I
especially it's just so convenient. I have this, I'm holding my phone for those of you at home that are listening. And then I purchased a little these are little Google Pixel Buds or whatever. They're just wireless headphones you can get. I mean, most people probably have AirPods or whatever.
Yeah.
They're the same
I
thing.
have Black Pods, and it's a clone.
Yeah.
What?
It's a clone of the AirPods. iPods,
I
guess, are white.
Yeah.
And the Black Pods are black. And when it's a cheaper version that you can use on your Samsung.
Nice.
Oh.
And so I think they made it just to get some of that money.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And when you put it on, it says iPod.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yes. And so you change it to your own name or something.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, with
I
these
love
things,
those
it is
things.
so
Oh, yeah.
it's so easy to just have this in my pocket, and then have my phone with me, and then like literally, I could be sitting at the DMV or at like a, getting my oil changed or whatever, and I can just have this ready to go, and anytime I can listen to a podcast
And answer the phone.
and answer the phone. Yeah, and like that has been so nice for me that I can just have that, and then I'm always just
Like in my line of work, that's especially in the last 2, 3, really 5 years, but 2 years in particular.
Right.
It's like it's a shit show. And so it's like what podcasts have done is really disseminate like information like quickly. And like, hey, this person's seeing this over here, and this person's seeing this over here, and because it's iterating and changing so fast, and so you get all this information. It's like, this person's over here doing this, and what's nice is like, I'm not nuts, or what people are used to with me is like they'll wake up and they'll have a podcast like, you're having this problem, listen to this right here, because this person just maybe something will spark your imagination on it or something.
Right.
But
you can find your subject matter.
Yep.
You can type in tags and things like that. We have a broad spectrum of what we talk about.
Right.
People can find it, look at it, listen to it. Ooh, I like that. Don't like it. Move on to the next thing. And you can find out what you're looking for. When we did the Gabby Petito thing, people were searching for that. The Johnny Depp.
Right.
And we've had some huge hits on those.
Really?
But then you do something like we did the afterlife. What's after when you die, and that was a huge one because people are looking for those questions and they're looking for those answers, and they want to feel what somebody else is experiencing at the time, and that's why podcasts are fun.
Because it's for me, it's connection and wisdom. Because it's like you get other people's experience, and you're like, I'm not crazy, or like maybe I am crazy, or it's
right.
It's just
one of the biggest, the largest listenerships that we had was Ian posed a question to X-Man and myself: if you were talking to me or your son, what would your words of wisdom be?
Oh, I remember that one.
That was a great episode. We had a lot of fun with that and got a lot of response back from that because people are like, man, that was a good conversation. And they listen to that conversation. But how many times are you just in your daily life going to have an hour conversation with somebody about some of these subjects?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way.
No.
Yeah.
Especially with the pandemic, especially with the way people are.
Man.
They're just so closed in on themselves. You can feel what somebody's talking about in the podcast, and you can experience it with them. And we get a lot of response from that.
Right.
They like the genuineness of what we're putting out there. And you can tell the podcasts that aren't genuine.
Oh yeah.
So
I've listened to a handful of them that make
Yeah.
me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, in fact, I really, it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't like overproduced
Right.
ones.
Right.
You know, it's like there's a couple of them. There's one I listened to, and by the way, the guy I listened to, he's a really big thinker in the field, and really is helpful to a lot of people in our line of work. But he starts it off with like in that radio voice. You know what I'm talking about? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just gosh, please cut that out, please. You know,
Right.
But then he has
I
great
hate my voice. I hate my voice. I've been on television twice as a guest chef,
Oh,
and I cannot.
did you say guest chef?
Yes, I cannot watch myself, and I hate listening to
You want
myself.
to talk about those little hidden things you don't know about people?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is this
Scott can cook.
business? What is this business?
Yeah.
Yeah. I own Stonefire Grill catering company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I've never had anything that I think he's actually cooked, like at least not recently.
I haven't been
Just-
cooking since the pandemic.
Ah.
but
It's just
man,
not worth it. It's not even worth dragging the pit out.
Oh, is it because you don't
It's
get
just-
enough business, or?
You can't cook for people in a mask, or you can't gather more than 5 or
Oh.
10 people, or
Oh.
so I just kind of shut it down until
Yeah.
after the pandemic. But I can't watch myself. The first time I did it, a bunch of my friends got together, and this was pre-pandemic, and I closed my ears, la 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 la, la, because I didn't even want to watch it on TV. Hate the way I look.
Do
Hate
you
the
want
way I
to something?
sound.
You want to know something funny? I feel the same way about things that I produce.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I like fully edit a video and I have to debut it in front of people and like people are watching it, for some reason I hate being in the same room when it's being. When
I
it's
guess
being
I'm a
played.
narcissist. I love listening and watching myself.
Well, yeah. Well, so for me, it's like it's not that like
Sounds like an X generation person.
it just makes me feel like like it's not that it's me on the, it's like it's even things that I've like created. Like even if I was to, like make a song, for instance,
Right.
or do something, and people had like talk about it or listen to it, I just like I don't want to be in the room while you're listening to it.
See, I
it just
have
feels,
0% problem with that.
Really, somebody will walk up, oh, you sound like such and such, or you have a great voice. Or, I'm like, no, really? I mean, you said I sounded. Who did
Dave Ramsey,
Dave
bro.
Ramsey. I've heard
Yeah.
that one 2 or 3. I'm
Yes.
like, really?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've listened to him, and I don't think I sound like him. But I
Well,
guess
I mean, you're
do.
nicer than him for
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
At
but
times.
going back to kind of the podcasting thing for me, I think I was kind of a socially awkward kid, like in high school. Just never really. Just a little bit.
Really?
I was a little weird. I was a
That
little
bun?
I was a little stop it, please. I was a little nerdy like in high school and just never really like I was never the like outward personality, but I would always hang around and I was a really great listener. And I would input a little bit here and there, but would never really know how to like interject myself into a conversation. But like listening was always a strong suit of mine. And I think that for me is why I enjoy podcasts, at least in some fraction of an amount, is like being able to listen to a conversation and like really get in or like feel like I'm getting involved in the conversation, even though I'm not even there. That's one of those things for me that I've noticed just listening to them, being a part of like even a funny conversation or a serious one that's like teaching you something.
Yeah.
I can really do my own thing, but also feel like I'm in this conversation of things. And then even doing this podcast, like in my adult life, I've gotten better about conversating with people and getting out of that shell. But man, this podcast it is interesting how much it is, I feel like, really stretched me as a person to just have a conversation with anybody. It has because while you're doing a podcast, you want to be able to talk, you want to be able to fill the air or ask questions about certain things or constantly have that frame of reference. They're like, this is a show that people are listening to. Let's at least make it interesting and talk about something. And even in my like professional life now, being able to just be in this little awkward moment and just go like, let's talk about something, has really helped me out a lot. I've noticed.
See, my whole life, people like, there's a story my dad told. I don't remember this, but my dad told me when I was maybe 4, I talk a lot. Like I grew up like talk. I think it has a lot to do with like the whole writing thing is like I really love like storytelling.
Communication. You like communication.
Yeah.
Did you have any siblings, by the way?
Yeah, I have a
Okay.
sister, yeah. And we're opposites.
Really?
100% opposites.
Interesting.
yeah. But because she's like super. See, I'm actually introverted. I really am. But get me in a room of people and talk. I just love, chatting and hearing about other people's perspectives and ideas and arguing and stuff. And but I remember he told me, so I was always like, talk. This is my day. This minute I did this. This minute I did that.
Right.
And then he was a blue collar worker, and sometimes he was at the fire station forever. So he was a working man. And we were eating dinner one time, and I just was going on and on and on and on and on about my day at school. And he goes, Sam, if you don't shut up, me and your sister are getting up and we're leaving forever.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. And I was just remember, don't worry, therapy is it's good. And but I remember I was like, don't leave now, please. And then he's just like, just don't say anything like that. And I was like, okay. But I got one more thing to tell you.
Yeah.
So, but that's always what I feel like. Is like, people have given me that, like, they'll say all the time is like, I can just talk and talk and talk. But I love it though, because I just love conversations. Because I think the more conversations, the more experience you get, the more perspective you get, and I think the more you can understand the world.
I keep trying to tell Magnus, there's a reason you have two eyes. There's a reason you have two ears, and there's a reason you have one mouth.
Yep.
You can't learn a damn thing with your mouth open.
Mm-hmm.
Shut your mouth and listen. Even if you don't like what somebody's telling you, can you derive something beneficial from you out of that listening?
Yes. Well, me and you just went through this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the primary thing we teach in my line of work is like, especially, and I mean, it's line of work as church world, but like, we have totally lost the ability to listen to people.
Right.
And it's like,
we listen to respond now. We don't listen to learn.
Exactly. And like, I just literally did a whole training this weekend about it, where that's what I said was like, first of all, you need to have an open heart. You need to have an open mind. You need to have open ears. And only when you have all those things can you have an open mouth. But if you don't have any of those three, don't open it.
So it sounds like, we kind of started the podcast with, following, what was your dream? What did you want to be? So it sounds like I'm the only one with the regret that I didn't become an astronaut.
Right.
It sounds like both of y'all have found your path and have no resentment toward that. How do you feel about that? Do you regret not becoming a paleologist? Do you regret not becoming a policeman?
Well, I mean, I feel like in a way I am still, not dinosaurs though, but I don't know, just like connecting, for me, like faith traditions and I mean, it's who we are.
Because a paleontologist basically brings a connection between the people you're talking to or teaching or explaining, communicating with, to the past.
Yeah.
So now you're still doing that in a certain way. You're trying to teach people this and that. And you're still making that connection.
Yes.
So,
and with a lot less dirt and heat. Yes.
Right.
Some
arguably some of the better parts, I would imagine, of the job.
So what about you? I mean, we talked about you becoming a pilot and the possibility that you could still become a policeman.
Yes.
Because I know in our area, they're holding a number of academies right now.
Really?
Yes.
Man, he's recruiting.
And I might know somebody. I might know somebody.
Yeah. So for me, it's not that I don't think I ever had a regret about not doing it. I've had this mindset, for better or worse, in my life and this was after everything that happened in Canada. We don't gotta.
We ain't gotta rehash that.
We ain't gotta rehash all that. But is that?
Wouldn't it be awesome one day if you found a picture of yourself and Miranda was sitting back in the restaurant and y'all actually were like 15 feet away from each other?
That would
Miranda's
be funny.
my fiance.
Yeah,
she's done the show a couple of times, but she's from Canada,
Oh.
and so we pick on him about is he paid from Canada to keep mentioning Canada?
Right.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that thought it just popped in my head.
No, for me, the one there's many things I learned from Canada, but the one thing that really got me was that I had that realization for myself. It's you. How do you word it? to summarize it, don't have regrets.
Right.
Is that you are who you
Mm-hmm.
are because of the decisions you made that got you where you
Yeah.
are.
Well, I've said this on the podcast before. You can't take one thing away from your past.
No.
If you take
Right.
one thing out of that, you're not the person you are today.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're right. No regrets. I really don't
Right.
regret not being an astronaut.
Yeah.
I've traveled.
Mm-hmm.
I've met insanely interesting people all over the world.
Yeah.
This podcast is a product of that. I would have never done this in a million years. I break things. I don't create anything. This is the first time in my life, other than cooking, have I been part of creating something. And so I have no regret. I'm where I'm supposed to be with the people that I'm supposed to be at that given time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I look at it, period.
No, 100%.
Right.
I
And
agree with
so same thing with my career path, that I think that looking back on it, I could have probably become a police officer. I could have done all these other random things.
But if you did, could you make the coffee that you make today?
I
You
mean,
make a mean cup of coffee,
and,
buddy.
right. And it's the thing is
Oh,
that,
yes. Oh, man.
I mean, well, you know,
Oh, Lord Jesus.
I was a professional. I went whole hard in being a professional barista for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
He made this
So
tea
I made-
for me the other podcast.
that. Tea. What kind of
Oh,
tea?
my God. What was that?
It was a black currant tea,
Yes.
Oh.
like a fruity kind of black tea
Man,
thing.
oh,
Anyways,
I dreamed about that tea. That
Whoa.
tea was amazing.
this is the first time I'm hearing about that. I didn't know he had
No,
dreamed
I
about
just,
it.
it was like, I could taste it. It was like,
Right.
it was just one of the most amazing teas ever on the planet.
Anyways, it's just one of those.
He goes, oh, and it's hard to get, so just enjoy that. You'll never get it again.
no, I never said that. No, but it's all these different facets of like
Right.
interests and things that I have, like after living a life of like kind of being more closed in and not feeling I can like give myself the freedom to really explore and do things and try new things and be different in my more adult life now, having that space of like I can do anything I want to do. I
Yeah.
can try things because I did some of that in my teenage years, my early 20s, where I was like I never really stretched myself too far, and I think that was kind of a detriment in some ways. But again, I don't regret any of the decisions that I made.
Right.
But I could have been a better actor. I could have been a better improv artist in those regards. There are moments when I could be better at what I do currently, at filmmaking stuff, at photography and shooting video and stuff, that I think that I was like too nervous that it wasn't going to be a stable job. So I just never really went whole hog like a lot of people do. Like certain musicians, I have friends that are musicians of mine. We got out of high school, I like dabbled and kind of was like a professional musician with them, and they just went full into it, and they were making some decent money, but also not all the time.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, I had held on to the paycheck a lot of times. Where I was like, I had a pretty consistent paycheck, and I was like, man, this stability thing is kind of nice.
Yeah.
But anyways, so now in my life, I feel like I'm getting to that point now where I'm kind of taking some more risks and doing some different things and trying that kind of, because I'm like, I'm confident in my ability. I know who I am now, and I am a multifaceted person that can make money at different points if I need to, and not feel like I have to just do this one thing forever until I am old and hate myself.
No such thing as that anymore.
Right.
No
So
such thing.
yeah.
Well, I mean, but that's why I don't regret anything, because like I'll look at my life, and so like, paleontologists want to be a writer, then, was 16 to 18. You know what that's like for guys.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then,
I don't know. I don't think I can remember that far back.
But well, and what was funny was like, so I was 19. I had a son very, very early, and so I had to go to work and be a provider, and so I had to work blue collar jobs and this and that, and then a blue collar job got me into a sales job, and then the sales job turned into a managing job, and then before you know it, I was in that business for 25 years, 20 years. And then, but then here's, the church world, where people have, where one of the big deficits that we have in the church world is no idea how to run I hate to say this, the business side of it, how to innovate, how to start new things. All of these things I learned because my son was born. I have no idea what my life would have been like. I mean, I did my first, when I went to college initially, it was music. I was in for music.
Oh, okay.
And you know, and then my girlfriend called, and you know, everything changes.
Wow.
But then I look back at it, and it's like, so when I look back at my whole life, it's like if I hadn't have gone through all that, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now, which is still pretty much telling stories and talking about the past, you know. So it's just like I was never a regretful person, but it's kind of creepy when you look at it. It's like, oh wow, that's weird.
It's
that
just
it worked
looking
out
at
like
it
that
in a different way.
That's why it's like, you know, what are you gonna? It's like, am I gonna retire at this? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like I still got
well, and then that was a big thing for me. Like getting out of high school, my mom was very supportive, but she was like, either you're gonna have a job and make money, or you're gonna go to school. She's like, I'm not gonna have a kid that's gonna be around the house not doing anything that's out of high school. And I was like, yes, ma'am, you got it. So I started working because I was like doing musician and doing photography and some little graphic design jobs, like going to school and paying out the butt for like schooling. That like at the end of the day, I had the mindset like I already had made connections and knew people, and I was like, I've already learned more with these people and already like have jobs with them. Mm-hmm. So I was like doing that freelance, and then I just started working at like a wholesale store, like a Costco or Sam's Club or whatever, and just like worked there and made some money.
Well, we've kind of told Magnus the same thing. I've told him you're going to be out at 18 in a day.
Yep.
Wait, you're going to throw me out on my birthday? No, that's what the extra day's for. We're going to have a party for you on your birthday and then kicking you out. If you're not in school,
right,
and doing something superly productive, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
100%.
You know, I can't see that.
Right.
I was going very early. My dad must have been a colonel in the KKK. And I didn't know what at the time I really wanted to be, you know, other than being an astronaut. I really didn't know what I wanted to be, but I knew what I didn't want to be. So I left very early.
Yeah.
I went on to pursue other thought processes and other philosophies in life. And I knew I wasn't going to be like that.
Yeah.
So, and I guess in retrospect,
right.
I thought the Air Force and being an astronaut would be a vehicle to get away from that.
You don't talk about a vehicle to get away from all that. Blast off.
Right. So, but my life went another way.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just the things like you've learned that make us really good for this podcast and bringing other people on, Miranda and Stephen and now Sam. You know, we have some interesting things to put together and have a communication and communicate. With my job now, I took the job that I'm at for two reasons: to atone for past sins and to make a difference in somebody's life. I know Jesus is the only thing that can atone for my past sins, but where my heart is that.
Yeah.
Right.
And on a day-to-day basis, I get to affect people.
Yeah.
I hope the day I pass, one person is going to stand up and say that dude affected my life. So no matter what I went through, if that can happen, I'm going to be good with it. I'm going to be okay. So I don't regret my past.
No, that's what I tell my kids, man. Is like, I don't care what you do with your life. Just make sure you enjoy it.
Right.
As much as that's possible, but make sure it makes the world a better place.
Right.
You know, I don't care what that is. And like, so my son, like, he was like, I think about you're going to shudder because, you know, like, oh my God, your dad said that to you. It's like, well, buckle up. Wait till you say what I said to my son. And because he was he like 16 or something like that. And,
your son was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's 28 now. And he, I remember.
Damn, you're old.
I'm old, dude.
I don't want to say anything.
Yeah. I'm aging well.
Right. I'm 28. This year I turned 28.
I tell everybody, not to interrupt what you said, I tell everybody I look really good for 63. You hope you look as good as me at 63. Now, on the other hand, I look like shit for 55. 57 now.
Right.
Go ahead, finish what you were saying.
Like everybody's talking to him about college, and I was
right.
I was like, y'all, this ain't college, people, you know. And finally, I just told him, I was like, bro, listen, you don't do this, you know. And I said, I don't think you're dumb, you're smart, but you just ain't a school person. You know, he's a very outdoorsy, you know, he's a very physical person, very creative, very smart, common sense. Which
funny thing about that is today he may not be a school person.
Yeah.
tomorrow he might be.
See, and that's
one of the things that you don't know yet is
Yeah.
I'm back in school.
Yeah.
I'm almost 60 years old.
Right.
And I'm taking Ivy League classes.
yeah.
I haven't been in school in
Well, but
30 years.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell him is like, and I see it too, being in the college ministry world, the college world, is like I see so many people in college for no other reason than their parents told them to, or this was the next
and
thing
they
to
hate
do.
what they do.
They hate it. They're wasting
And then they're
money.
saddled
And
with
dude,
$200,000
Right.
worth of debt.
And that was like for me, it was I had everyone around me encourage me to want to go to college, but I felt the same way.
Yeah.
It's like I have so many creative endeavors that I think I'm starting to get really good at that moment in my life. And I was like, and I have so many people that are teaching me so many great things like in the field, and I'm making money while I'm doing it, even if it's really shitty.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to do this instead. And I did that for a long time. And I think a lot of that it has got me where I am right now.
Well, look at the Bill Gates dropped out of college.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
You know,
right?
all these Elon Musk says college education is a waste.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hire somebody based on a college education. I'm going to look how well-rounded they are.
Well, no,
That's what college originally was supposed to do. Was supposed to well-round you in a number of subjects, specialize you in a subject or two subjects, and then you go out. Now these kids are taking basket weaving.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It's a waste of money for a lot of people. But in my generation, you grew up, go to college. That's the only way to succeed. Go to college.
And that, for me, I heard nothing but like, oh, you're going to be paying off that debt forever. And I'm like, that's not what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Well, the debt ratio back in my time was vastly different from the debt ratio in your time.
But I'm talking about like, I had it's probably more so now, but 10 years ago when I was graduating high school, crazy to say, I had people that were like, you're going to go to college, you're going to get in a lot of debt, and you're going to get a degree that you may not be able to get a job for. And I now have friends that spent like 6-8+ years in college that have a degree, and they're not even in the same field that their degree, and they're still paying off their debt. And I'm like, I'm sorry first and foremost, because I'm like, I know the people out there that feel that way, and I don't want to patronize you, but I'm like, where was the benefit for me?
Yeah.
Like now, like there may have been connections they made, there may be certain attributes that they actually really enjoyed about that, but for me, like I got to be on like at least 2 or 3 like really big film production sets in that time, and I like learned a lot. And I also I messed up real bad in those moments too, when I was like, this is what not to do in these scenarios.
Right. Well, no, that's exactly what I told so I said, just you're going to go to school. I mean, go out in the world and work. And he did. He worked restaurant jobs, and funny enough, he always worked his way up into like assistant manager or whatever like that. And but then on a lark, somebody at this restaurant he was working at, it was actually, pretty big in the back of the house in the kitchen. Yeah. He's like, hey man, I need somebody to, I'm a landscaper. I need some help, doing that. You can make some good money. And he's like, I'll work, And so he's, and what was crazy was he really enjoyed it. Like a lot.
Right. Interesting.
And like,
well, you said he's like an outdoorsy kind of person.
Yeah, he's an outdoorsy person.
Right,
and so he's not cutting lawns, he's creating landscapes and, like he even does putting greens, and he does everything.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And AstroTurf and stuff. But but it's like, but then he's like, oh well, I'm gonna have my little side hustle and work. So he quit his restaurant jobs and works for this one company. And then at this one company, he starts getting a little side hustle of his landscaping stuff.
Ah, I see.
And they're fine with it. I guess that's common in his particular field. Right. And then before you know it, he has his own business that has people and equipment, and and he's his own business owner now at 28 with 0 debt and 0 college degree. But I tell him though, because he's 28 and it's starting to hit him, like it's going to hit you, Ian.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't. That's hard work. You're not going to do that forever.
Yes.
So you need to think about being the guy in the truck or the guy in the desk.
Right.
And so that's when he's thinking about, well, maybe I could go to landscape architecture or something like that. See, but now it's something he loves,
it. Right.
And
so that's what I said. Maybe tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, he might be perfect at school because now he has a purpose.
Yes.
Well,
And
then
a lot of times there's no purpose in school other than to shut your parents up.
Yeah.
That's not a purpose.
well, and also, if nothing else, at the very fundamental, he's ran a business for a handful of years and like knows how to probably handle financial stuff and like that kind of stuff. So it's like, man,
movie guy.
Oh.
do you remember Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard of it, but no.
Oh,
You
that's
gotta watch
such
that
a
movie.
funny movie, man.
There's a great scene in there.
If you want to be,
Rodney Dangerfield is never. I think he dropped out at 8th grade,
right.
but he became this very successful businessman.
It was a
clothing
that only catered to big people, and
Right.
so his slogan was, "If you want to look skinny, hang around with fat people."
But his son was going to drop out of college, and so he went back to school to be with his son.
Right.
And they're talking about in the business class, and you can tell, and this isn't everybody, but there's a reason that business people are teaching and not having their own businesses.
Right.
Okay. There's a deficit there on maybe what's going on. So the instructor's kind of this, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
What's a good word to describe him? A dick?
Yeah. He was,
And so Rodney Dangerfield starts talking about what really happens in business. Well, that's not a real outlook on that. You know, you got to pay off this politician. You got to pay off the mob if you want concrete, and you got to do it. And all of a sudden, everybody turns around
and stops
notes. Looking at the professor and starts taking notes from his character because it's the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
And he had that experience to really be able to talk about what he was dealing with.
Right.
And it was a really good movie.
Well, and see that I just literally talked to some colleagues about this. We were doing a thing that we're working on, and I say this, we say this I've said this for a while in the religious world is but this applies everywhere, I think, is like there's like if we're going to talk the religious world's theology. So I say, you know, you go to seminary and you learn paper theology. Right. You know, you learn all these big highfalutin ideas, and they're great, and they open your mind up, and they're you know wonderful, wonderful things. But then there's this other thing I like to call people theology, and like so, for example, we can learn about the problem of evil, and you know all of these highfalutin things. And I said, I ain't gonna say one of those things to a mom that just lost her kid. I'm not going to say it at all.
Right.
And so it's like and that's the one thing I argue about is well, my seminary did a little bit, but there was never a synthesis or a connection point of going, hey, this is the paper theology, this is the people theology, so it goes together. And I would say the same thing like a guy I used to work for. He was a mechanical engineer, and he was just insanely like just brilliant. He just could come up with the weirdest contraptions and stuff. And I was talking to him about it. And, you know, at that time I thought, oh, a mechanical engineer, you go to this class, you got to do all this math, you got to do CAD and all over. He's like, nah, when I went to college, when I got my engineering degree, I took diesel mechanics. There was a diesel engine in the classroom, and we took it apart and put it back together.
Nice.
You know, so it's like real stuff. And that's where I think a lot of higher education is missing. And they know it. Because I talked to him. It's like we got all this great stuff up here, but then there's nothing to connect it.
Well, Chip Foose, great car builder, custom car builder, says we're not teaching our kids to build anything. We're teaching them to buy something.
Yes,
and so we're losing that.
Yep.
Hardcore right now.
Right.
Yep.
Because kids don't want to build anything. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They want to watch TV and they want to go buy something.
Yep. No, 100%.
That's crazy.
So that's why I've always tried to push my kids. And I mean, even it's tough too with the college kids I work with. It's like, because I don't want to like screw up their life or anything. I want to help them, but I'm just like, going out and getting a job is a good thing for you.
Get some experience. Learn something. The kids that used to take a year off and just go travel the world before coming back.
I'm actually a big
college,
proponent of that.
I am too.
Yeah.
I think that, or go join the military for 2 years or 4 years.
Right.
And then come back and do, or Peace Corps.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Get outside your bubble and see the world through different eyes.
I know the Navy changed my brother. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. I think he regrets ever getting out sometimes.
My youngest brother, like I talked about before, I just went to Canada, which I went into like some pretty crazy places.
You never been to Canada?
I think he's getting paid to mention Canada.
Why does your phone say Justin Trudeau?
Anyway. But my brother went to like China. So like he went to some like he saw some of the world at like its lower points.
Oh, yeah.
I think, and so
Canada is not a lower point.
well, I mean,
it is now.
anyway, I don't want to.
You're gonna ruin his paycheck, Sean. I'm sorry.
No.
He literally got scared
Well,
for a second.
I don't get a kickback. So.
No, I just don't want to ostracize the entire Canadian audience.
Okay.
Anyway, but what I'm saying is there for him, he lived off of like chicken and rice, and he shit in a hole, and like it's that kind of stuff where it was like he got to see the world, and like got to like see some people that were like down in their luck and like built them a house or whatever, like that kind of stuff. And so, and like you said, came back a changed person that was like got some perspective on life. Which was incredible as an older brother to see my younger brother like go through that kind of stuff. And was like, man, this is crazy. I was like, yeah, you look like a different person, because he also lost 30 pounds,
right?
Going there, like all that kind of stuff. But anyways, so with all that, man, I don't know.
Well, at least we have no regrets.
I guess you're
No
right.
regrets.
No regrets.
I want to get that tattoo just to get it.
Just to get it. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Oh man, that's crazy. You were saying something about your son. I guess I lost it. There was something being said about, I guess, talking to people. Oh, I guess that was what it's talking to people is how to talk to people through a situation.
Yeah.
That was one of the key things learning in life that I think is an invaluable lesson, along with like not regretting decisions you made as you go along through your life, is also learning how to talk to people.
Yes.
Talk to people and also listening to them.
Well,
like having that
it's funny you say that
conversation.
because I literally, one of the things we do at my particular place I'm at is we have low income housing. And so I like to joke around and say, it's a big hippie commune,
right.
because it's not the greatest living, but it's, affordable living and stuff like that. But I was just talking to a student the other day who's moving in, and they were asking me all kinds of questions like, hey, can you do this, do that? I was just like, yeah, just go ahead and talk to them. It's it's like, oh, well, this, hey, can you do, no, just go ask them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't live here.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
These people live here. Go talk to them. And it's interesting to like how there's that disconnect that I just,
it's such
weird.
It's such a new, I know it's not a new thing. It feels like a new thing for people to not be able to communicate with each other as of recently. I know it's a mixture. I think of I think it's a mixture of the pandemic, and it's just this. We had talked about this before about about people in like traffic and stuff. How it's like you have this mask on. It was like during the pandemic, you have this mask on. You're in your car. It's like this double level of like anonymity to people.
We've removed the humanity.
Right.
We're,
So
we're just robots now.
I just think it's like
yeah.
I think that we have maybe in the past few years gotten more comfortable with the idea of like being anonymous and not having to talk to people directly. And then now that we're in this new season of like I don't need to contact anybody ever, is like I have just realized people being very just strange to talk to. Not everybody. I mean, obviously.
No.
Some people, I think,
I never thought of it like that. That is okay. I think I see where you're coming from.
Right.
That makes sense. That does make sense.
Right. It just, like I said, in my own personal life, is like just there are some people that I think live that like it really, I think it heightens the extrovert and the introvert in some way. I am by default, I think, an introverted person, but and like you said before, I do enjoy talking with people and having a conversation with somebody. And I think it heightens that level of like, if people are like cooped up and they want to talk, they'll be like, I just want to tell you everything.
Yeah.
Whereas the opposite will be like, I don't.
We'll go to a restaurant today and see a family. All of them are on their phone.
Yeah.
They're sitting at a restaurant eating. I remember when cell phones first came out, we all would get a basket, put all the cell phones in a basket.
Right.
First one to ring, paid the bill.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was awesome.
I know.
Because you didn't want to look in and see it was yours.
There's actually, I just read a white paper about that because we're finally getting enough time, because people have been researching this for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
It's just now, but now we're finally getting some years under our belt to really go, oh. And that's the one I just read was they're basically like, listen, don't give your kid a phone for as long as you physically possibly can. And like maybe 16, but if you can go longer, do that. No more than 2 hours. And that was the big thing they walked away from. But the one thing that really stuck out to me was that the phone usage and social media in general, but it dramatically has a negative impact to women, to young women.
Well, he hasn't listened to
really?
last week's episode.
Oh, see, I haven't
has he?
listened yet.
Do we actually touch on that in last episode?
Social media.
Oh, I guess you're right.
yeah.
You're right.
Well, and that's
Anyways.
what I find, because we said this a lot. It was like we live in a time where everybody's the most connected but least known.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what's the saying? A phone brings you closer to somebody further away and further apart to somebody sitting right next to you.
Yes, yes.
And I believe that with my whole heart.
100%.
And one of the things dealing with Magnus is he has an extreme addiction to electronics. And so we've had to remove it all. And it's been probably a year. Oh, no, because he keeps stealing phones and stuff like that.
Wow.
But the punishment has been probably 8 to 9 months, but the addiction is still there.
Wow.
And that's you were saying before, is like, don't give your kid a phone until 16 or that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm so scared, like for my own, like how could I even do that in this day and age? Because it's everywhere.
You can do it.
I'm not saying it's
Believe
impossible.
it or not.
I'm not. I also don't have a kid right now, so I can't even.
I mean,
but
I waited. We fought it as long as we could. I think we
Right.
waited till about, because we couldn't. It was 13 when she had it. And,
Right.
Well, they're the new babysitter.
Yeah.
It used to be the TV. You got stuck in front of a TV and you watched TV because mom and dad were either working or busy or something like that. And then it was computers, and now it's the phones, and they're proving, even when we talked about on social media, that it becomes addictive for the likes and the comments.
Oh yeah.
And it releases endorphins, and
Well, dude, because like I'm from the recovery community, and so like I find it very funny that but it's not funny, but it's like you literally said you took it away from him, and he stole them and snuck it. If you took out the word phone and put in drugs,
it'd be the same.
it would be a whole different conversation we'd be having.
We allowed
You know what
him, trying to give him somewhat of a break into the school year. We allowed him to bring a friend over and watch a movie. And
Gave
he
him a little
forgets
hit.
that I have cameras
I'm
everywhere.
kidding.
It's what he did.
I know.
They're sitting on the couch, facing the other way. Miranda and I were in the kitchen, and he forgets that I have cameras everywhere in the public areas of the house.
Ah.
And the kid hands him his phone, and he's sitting there on the phone. And then I come up and I tap him on the head, and I says, if your friend gives you the phone again, he's going home.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. And just ball face lies.
Right.
So I pull up the camera of it. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want your phone back, but you're proving day to day that you're still addicted to it, and it's not good. It's not good for you.
Well, I mean, I keep saying, because I mean, it's real easy to beat up on it, but what I try to do is like my daughter and stuff. I try to say, listen, my generation created this problem for you guys, and I think we thought we were really doing a good thing, and I think we did do a good thing in the long run, but we just didn't think about the implications of it.
Yeah.
And see, I feel like your generation, Ian, and every generation after that they're the one that's going to fix it and get their arms around it. And I will say, I've already starting to see that with some probably early 20s. I've starting to see them handle a lot better. Like there's some students I have now that are like, it's useless texting them because they don't have their phone with them, and I'm like, so I don't want to yell at them. Like, good,
right.
Good.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Anyways, I know we've gone up to time now. I think
we have.
So we've also.
He's got this little thing at the
Anyway.
button, and he threatens us. And
No, I don't threaten anything.
Yes, he does. I got the button.
I don't see any button. What are you talking
Making
about?
it sound like I have like a gun to your head or something.
No, you have the button to our head.
Oh, is that what it is? It may as well be a gun. Anyway, as I was just saying that this was a great conversation, and even though we've gone probably off the beaten path, I
That's
love
okay.
where we've
Still
gone,
fun.
and this was a great conversation, and I
all
really appreciate
It's a good
belongs.
conversation to
All
introduce Sam to our listening
Yes.
audience.
My insane ADD.
Exactly. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh,
and
no,
just
thanks,
having this
man.
conversation.
This is my dream come true.
And I would love for you to come back on
I will.
at some point in time.
We'll see. Watch the listenership just shoot to the roof.
Yeah, or just plummet. No one listen. I'm kidding.
You will know immediately. You'll know.
You will.
Right. But anyways, if you're looking for us, you can type in Linktree /Retrospect Pod, and you can find all of our links there. Or you can just type in /Retrospect Pod on Facebook, and you can find different ways to contact us that way. I hope we offended at least one person this week. I mean,
Well, I'm offended.
okay, well, there you go. There we go. Right here in the own studio. But anyways, until next time, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Later.
Peace.